Good morning, good morning. I'm Reverend Karen Einhaus. I am the spiritual leader of this beloved community, and it is my joy to welcome you, to say hello, Happy New Year, Frohes Neues Jahr, to hear everyone in the sanctuary, those of you who are joining us online. We feel your presence here. How amazing was that, to have the dog here from that we are sponsoring. Oh. Earlier, I took the tissues that we always have on the platform, and I said, I am not going to cry today. First lie of 2024. It's going to happen. And that's okay, Because when we see the work that we do here at New Vision ripple out into the world like that, it touches our hearts, does it not? Yeah. And I love that that is not something that is just mine or just the leadership of New Vision Center. That is for each and every one of us. Because who is New Vision Center? We all are. And now we have a doggy who's also New Vision Center. Love that. So we are in a new year, and if you have been around here at the New Vision Center, you know that we love an annual theme. We love it. It is something that one of our former senior ministers, Reverend Dr. Penny Masick, brought to us, and we loved it so well. We kept it even when she left, I think 6 years ago now, and so we still organize our entire year by an annual theme. Now, the beginning of the year, we always devote 1 or 2 months to the foundational principles of this teaching of the science of mind. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, penned almost 100 years ago wonderful statements, which he called What I Believe. And as an organization, we have adopted those, and they turned into What We Believe. And if you have ever read the Science of Mind magazine, who knows about this wonderful magazine? Yes. You know that in 2027, this magazine will have been in publication for 100 years. Through 2 wars. No, that's not true. Just 1 war. Well, one big one, World War. Anyway, it's amazing, isn't it? And so I will reference a couple of things today in here. And if you're still looking for a Christmas gift, if you received some money and you don't quite know what to do with it, I invite you to consider subscribing to this magazine. It is a blessing that comes every 2 months. It has 2 months of inspiration in there. So, why am I going with all of that? Because on page 3, every magazine on page 3 has or maybe 5, or 10, in the beginning, What We Believe, right there, Ernest Holmes, What We Believe. And for the next 2 months, we are going to deepen into these statements. Now, you might say, Reverend Karen, that's really not modern English, and I agree, couldn't agree more. But what we want to do is we want to lean into the essence, and we want to feel into what does this mean to me? So for those of you who are in the sanctuary, if you received your Keep Me sheet, you will find in the center of the Keep Me sheet this What We Believe statement for each of the Sundays that we're going to go through. And then there's a space that says What I Believe. And the invitation is for you to get clear on what is it that I believe about that. So that is the plan for the next 2 months. And with Reverend Lezli being on sabbatical until April, we have wonderful guest speakers lined up. So, and some of them are really not guest speakers, they're featured speakers. Next week, our beloved Reverend Karen Russo will be speaking. Yes. And then the following week, Reverend Michelle Madrano will be here. Yes. So that's what's on the docket for the next 2 months. And today, I get to start us off by talking about oneness. Oneness. If you paid attention, you heard this concept of oneness referenced at least 5 times already this morning. Because every prayer, our form of affirmative prayer, a spiritual mind treatment, starts with the recognition that there is only one power, one presence, that there is only one activity of the divine that continuously finds new expressions by means of each and every one of us. And so that is one of the principles, perhaps the core principle. This idea that the divine, that God, that first cause, universal spirit is not something that just happens out there, but it is all-inclusive, all of us. You, me, the person we haven't even met, every sentient being, every animal, every plant, it is all one in the one. And I think that right there is the first point that I want to share. You might have noticed our tree. We decided we liked it so well, we're going to keep it. We're going to keep it. We had it for our candlelight service. But we're going to keep it, and we placed in here different words to describe that which is indescribable. And yet, each of us tries, right? We try, especially those of us who try to explain and share this teaching with others, we use words. And at the same time, we are aware that there's a limitation to words. Because when we use words, we are on this level, the level of the mind. Even if we use the same word, it means something a little different. And a good example is if I say God, right? We have probably about 100 people here in the sanctuary, another 100 online. How many different definitions do you think are there for that just one word? About 200. Yeah. Right? Some people are like, oh, I don't use that word. Great. Use a different word. And so today we're talking about oneness, and my intention is really that we ask ourselves the question I have asked myself this whole week. Why is this even important? And we're going to find out about that. So let's start with what we believe. And it is the very first statement that Dr. Ernest Holmes penned. We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existing cause. Now that's a mouthful, yes? What does that mean? Think one all-inclusive something, and then fill in your word for that. Or fill in your feeling tone for that. Perhaps it is a, perhaps that's all it is. Feeling, what does that mean to me? When I find myself like a drop in the ocean, because this is what it really is. Each of us individual drops in this vastness of the ocean. And that's what that whole first sentence says, that we believe that there's something greater than we are. And then we try, however humbly and perhaps not very skillful, to find a word that explains that. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. Now, instead of absorbed, try is not used up by its creation. It's not limited. It is continuing to create of itself. And that is, beloveds, why we say each and every one of us is one in the one. Because when we were created, when we took on this flesh body, we used up, or it got used up, whatever was available. And that is only that God essence. That's all. And so the divine creates itself continuously, and it is not being used up, or as Dr. Ernest Holmes said, it is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe, which is everything you see, feel, touch, and even the things we don't see and can't touch. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. Infinite intelligence. Continuously creating. We see it in nature, right? We see it in nature. Give us a couple more weeks, and we will see in nature this continuing creation of newness, of life bursting forth. Now, because this is language of 100 years ago, Centers for Spiritual Living, our parent organization, that has centers all over the world, similar to the New Vision Center, the education department took it upon them and said, let's come up with some more modern language. And so here is an attempt that I would like to share. If you are signed up for the Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life class, and by the way, I think you should sign up for that class. If you are already signed up, you will find in your workbook these newer, fresher articulations of these principles. And so let's take a look at how they decided to articulate oneness. And so there's one infinite reality. We call it by many names, including but not limited to God, life, universal spirit, infinite intelligence, first cause, or the thing itself. And if you are wondering what these words are here in our tree, those are those words for the divine. And the intention is that we will fill up this tree with whatever word resonates for you. So that when you sit here and the speaker uses a word that does not work for you to describe the allness of life, you can just look at the tree and pick your word. Okay, so the thing itself. So there's one infinite reality. The one infinite reality is undivided, complete, and whole within itself. This oneness creates everything out of itself, and therefore includes both the absolute and relative, tangible and intangible, physical and metaphysical aspects of reality. Do you see? I think they did a fabulous job. What do you think? Yeah, I think they did a really, really good job to make it more approachable, to make this idea of oneness more approachable. And here's another thing that I came across that I'm very, very excited about. As I was contemplating this question, why is this belief in oneness important? And is it really beneficial for us? Is it beneficial? And so I've been reading a lot of research, and I am excited to witness science actually catching up with what faith traditions have believed for many, many years. Thousands of years, actually. This is not something that Dr. Ernest Holmes just came up with. As a matter of fact, some of you might have heard of Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, he was a philosopher who lived from 121 to 180 AD. That is a long time ago. And he said this, he wrote this in a book that he titled Meditations. He said, "Be mindful at all times of the following: the nature of the whole universe, the nature of the part that is me, the relation of the one to the other, the one so vast, the other so small. No one can ever prevent me from saying and doing what is complete conformity with the whole of which I am so small yet integral part." Even more challenging English language, very, very old, translated from its original language, of course. But what does that say? That we are invited to recognize that we are one in the one. That who we are is an integral part of the whole. It brings me back to the idea of the ocean, right? Every drop in the ocean, is it the whole ocean? No, but it is and has all of the elements of the ocean in it. And that is what I believe we are. We are individual manifestation of the allness of life. And how wonderful when I look around and see all these different examples of creativity of the divine in all different forms showing up here as people, online, as humans. Not two alike. Each one of us a unique expression, a unique form of spirit. Now, why might that be important to believe this? I believe that within each one of us there is an urge, there's a desire, there's a calling forth of being one in the one. Of belonging to that which is greater than we are. We see it all through history. And I believe, and I have felt it within me, this idea that we can feel what is happening in the greater consciousness. We call it sometimes the collective consciousness. We feel disturbances, we feel chaos, conflict. I cannot tell you how often somebody comes to work with me and they start off by saying, I am an empath. I can feel what is happening in other people and I take it on. And I want to say, great! You're experiencing oneness. But I don't do that, because that would not be nice, right? But that is one aspect of it. Because when we experience oneness, our hearts are so open. Our entire being is opening up and willing to give away this personality part of us and give ourselves into life itself. Now, this is the work I believe we are called to do on an individual basis, and this is the work that we are doing as a community, as New Vision Center. Let me see if I can find, there it is. This wonderful magazine, as I was reading through it and working on this exploration of oneness, I came across this wonderful article by one of our ministers on the East Coast, Raymond Anderson. And he wrote this article, "There's work to be done." There's work to be done. Now, the New Vision Center has a vision, right? We have a vision statement, and that is revealing the power of love. That is our directive. And the greater organization, Centers for Spiritual Living, has also a vision statement, and that vision statement is to create a world that works for all. To create a world that works for all. And so he speaks about that there is work to be done as the greater organization, Centers for Spiritual Living, which we are part of. And he says, "The beginning is always today. The question is, how close are we to living in a just and equitable world? How close are we to living in a world that works for all?" And here's the question. How many of our centers and churches are thriving as demonstrations of being the beloved community? And I said, we are. We are. And you know, I get to see that in so many ways. And one of the ways that brought me to tears this week was I was walking on the property, which I often do. I was actually checking on our water main break that we brought the new year in. Yay. Flow. And as I was walking there, I noticed a couple here on this part in our south parking lot, and they were standing by a car, and I recognized them. I recognized them as two beloveds who have been experiencing homelessness for many years. They have been around here. I think it was about 6-7 years ago. They came to Jeff Hargis at that time, who worked in our office, and asked if they could please charge their phones, and the scooter of the wife was running on a battery, if they could please charge them here. And we said, yes, of course. So for the last 6 years, we have seen them a couple times a week, and they're always friendly. They always feel like this is their campus. When people are here that shouldn't be here, they take care of it. It's wonderful. Well, this was the first time I saw them next to a car, which was obviously their car. And I went over and I talked with Jim and Mary, and Jim explained to me that they decided to clean up their life, and that they are able to do that with the help of New Vision Center, that they have found something here that gave them back the trust that they can live a different life. And they were able to buy a car. And then they offered me $20 to pay for the electricity. And of course, I received that, right? I had one person say, well, you didn't take it from them, did you? And I said, no, I received it. I wish you could have seen how excited they were to give. That, beloved, that is an expression of oneness. And now I need tissue. All right, next week we'll have the tissues back up here. That's oneness. That is the realization that we are all in this together. We might be doing better financially at this time. Doesn't matter. We are all in this together. But you know, at the end of the day, words cannot communicate oneness. It is an experience of the heart. So I invite us all to just close our eyes if that's comfortable, or soften your gaze here in the sanctuary, at home. Just allow all these words, all these emotions to wash over you, and find that place within where you feel that you belong to something much greater. That you are truly one in the one. That you are an integral part of this dance of life that is taking place everywhere. Notice that there are no words necessary, that we can simply be in this space together, that we can consciously go beyond the doingness of the world and be in each other's presence. And it is in this place that we can connect with what is ours to do, who we are to be, what life calls us to engage in. And so we're going to move right into prayer, into an affirmative statement of our belief in the oneness of life. It is with such a grateful heart that I open myself up to recognize the allness of life, sweet spirit, source, God, this now moment that is filled with every good thing. And I take a moment to consciously step into this experience of oneness. Noticing that all is truly well. God is, I am, we are. From this place of knowingness that I am one in the one, that I'm an integral part of the allness of life, I speak my word. And I speak a word of gladness and gratitude, of knowing that all requests that have been placed into our ministry of prayers are prayed upon from the place of knowingness that we are all one. And I see any obstacles to the flow of goodness being simply released, melting into the background. And I know that as we give ourselves into this belief, as we are willing to be oneness in the world, our lives are uplifted. Life energy becomes available to be shared with others. And I'm so grateful. I'm so, so grateful to know this to be the truth. And so I simply place this word into universal law. I know that it is done. It is heard by that law that always says, yes, yes, my beloveds, it is already so. I let it go, and so it is.